yeah, yeah. The Amero, the Amero, the Amero.
Episode 6, Mexico, Remittances, and the Hidden North American Economy. Season 2, North America Under Pressure. Welcome back to the kitchen table. I want you to imagine a man named Mateo. He has been working 12-hour shifts on a construction site in Texas for the past month. His body aches, but he is proud because today is payday. He cashes his check and walks down to a local money transfer office to send support back to his family in Jalisco, Mexico. But watch what happens to Mateo's hard-earned money. First, the transfer service takes a 5% flat fee. Then, they apply a hidden markup on the currency exchange rate between the US dollar and the Mexican peso. Finally, they tell him it will take 3 days for the money to clear the correspondent banking network. By the time Mateo's wife receives the funds to buy groceries and pay for their children's schooling, a significant chunk of his physical labor has been siphoned off by financial middlemen. Mateo earns in one country and supports a family in another, paying friction at every single step. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 6 of the Amero Digital Bridge to the Fintech Future. I'm your host, Chae-sun Lee. Today, we are looking at the hidden engine of the North American economy. For our diaspora listeners, our fintech builders, and our policymakers, we are asking, what do remittances actually reveal about North America's labor and payment integration? Today, we are going to dissect the hidden costs of migration and informal finance. We will explore a difficult counterargument that while remittances are a lifeline, they create a dangerous dependency that does not substitute for true economic development. Finally, we will show why Mexico is not an afterthought, but a core partner in the Amero vision, and how cross-border settlement is exactly where digital infrastructure can deliver tangible, life-changing value. To understand North America, you cannot just look at the stock market. You have to look at remittances. Every year, more than $60 billion is sent back to Mexico from workers abroad. This massive flow of capital is a lifeline for millions of families, funding everything from basic nutrition to housing and education. But this $60 billion flow also exposes a glaring hypocrisy in how our continent operates. Through agreements like NAFTA and the USMCA, we have deeply integrated our supply chains. A car part can cross the US-Mexico border multiple times without a second thought. Capital flows freely for massive corporations, but for the human beings whose labor actually builds our cities and harvests our food, the financial system remains walled off, expensive, and painfully slow. The remittance system relies on an antiquated network of correspondent banks. Because many migrant workers lack access to formal, high-tier banking, they are forced to use informal finance and retail transfer services. These services prey on the vulnerable, charging exorbitant fees and manipulating foreign exchange FX rates. It is an invisible tax on the working class. Our labor markets are deeply integrated, but our payment systems are fundamentally broken. But here is where we must face the critical counterargument. When politicians and economists look at that $60 billion remittance figure, they often celebrate it as a triumph of global wealth transfer. But many development economists and Mexican leaders themselves warn of a dark side, dependency. Remittances can become a trap. When a local economy relies entirely on cash sent from abroad, it can distort the local labor market and inflate local prices. More importantly, it masks the underlying structural failures. Relying on remittances does not build local factories. It does not fund domestic research and development. It does not create high-paying jobs at home. As former Mexican President Vicente Fox argued decades ago when discussing the wealth gap in North America, people should not have to migrate just to survive. They migrate because of massive wage disparities. If an economy relies on exporting its youngest, strongest, and hardest working citizens just to balance its books, that is not sustainable development. It is economic exile. Remittances are a critical safety net, but they are not a substitute for true domestic economic development. This brings us to the future of the continent and why the digital Amero movement absolutely must include Mexico as a core, equal partner. In our framework, we talk about the three nations as a dream team with distinct personalities. The US is the commander, driving innovation. Canada is the logistician, providing stability and resources. And Mexico is the catalyst, bringing the kinetic energy of a youthful demographic, manufacturing agility and immense adaptability. You cannot build a North American economic fortress without the catalyst. This is where digital infrastructure transitions from a theoretical concept into tangible human value. If North America adopts a shared digital settlement layer, whether through a formal digital Amero, linked CBDCs, or regulated stablecoins, the friction of remittances vanishes. The $60 billion sent to Mexico would arrive instantly without exorbitant conversion fees. By modernizing this infrastructure, we return billions of dollars of lost wealth directly to the pockets of the workers and their families. Furthermore, by bringing these informal flows onto a secure, transparent digital ledger, we offer millions of unbanked citizens true financial inclusion. A worker could hold a digital wallet on their phone, build a verifiable financial identity, and finally access the credit needed to start a business in their home country. Digital settlement does not solve the root causes of migration, but by stopping the financial bleeding of the working class, it provides the capital needed to start building true economic development at home. Before we close today, let's bring this back to the kitchen table with our weekly Q&A. Question 1. If stablecoins already exist, why do we need an Amero framework for remittances? Because stablecoins today are mostly pegged to the US dollar, which still leaves the recipient in Mexico dealing with currency conversion to buy local groceries. An Amero framework isn't just about the technology, it is about the governance and interoperability between the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, and the Mexican peso. A true regional framework ensures that digital money is legally recognized, easily convertible at the retail level, and protected by central bank oversight, rather than leaving vulnerable workers at the mercy of unregulated private tech companies. Question 2. Does making remittances easier just encourage more people to leave their home countries? The data suggests the opposite. Migration is driven by a lack of local opportunity and severe wage gaps. When remittance friction is high, workers have to stay abroad longer and send more money just to meet their family's basic needs. If we lower the friction and combine it with targeted economic development, allowing those funds to actually be invested in local Mexican businesses, we create local jobs. When people have good opportunities and good wages at home, they don't have to leave. Question 3. What is the call to action for today? I want to hear directly from the diaspora, the migrant entrepreneurs, and anyone who regularly sends money across borders. Drop a comment below. What is the average fee and the average delay you experience when you send money home to your family? Let's put the real human cost of this analog system on the record for everyone to see. I'm Chae-sun Lee. Thank you for seeking the truth behind the money. I will see you next week on the Amero.